Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, if you are with me right now, I want to thank you for joining me. Yes, I did go live early. I am going to be, we're delaying talking about Summer Wells for just a few moments. We are going to get into Summer Wells tonight, but right now I think what is going on in the news is important to pay attention to. And I'm going to be sharing what Broadcastify is playing. It has going on. El Paso, Texas, a mall. And we'll have to look up the name and give you the name again in a moment. It has an active shooter going on right now. Reports have varied from an unknown amount of people injured. Several are already in handcuffs. The police are not playing games. But there's also a report that there is one person dead and 4 injured, but they do not believe it is the shooter. So again, I'm going to be sharing Broadcastify's live feed for a little bit. And we will, as more people come in, please let them know what's going on. Also tonight, there is a severe weather threat with possible tornadoes in the area surrounding the Mississippi River of Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee. So if you live in one of the cities around that area, if my mods drop a city name and say severe weather alert, I do encourage you to put Ryan Hall Y'all. Post that link in the chat as well. Or post that chat, hit link to his channel. He's a guy on YouTube. He does weather. He's very good at what he does. If there's a severe weather threat or a tornado on the ground, him and his trackers know very well where that is and will pinpoint it on a map to where it's at. So, guys, please, like I said, I'm going to play Broadcastify for a little bit here because I think it is important that this is an active situation going on. But we will be talking about Summer Wells in a few moments.
For orders or direction from a supervisor. 234, just said I see this last thing going eastbound. Right now, black hoodie. I copy going eastbound, black hoodie, and then you came in with wind. Surgical map. So from the Taco Bell going eastbound. She said a large rifle is what he's carrying. Really get 5-1. Confirm the mall incident. They have all their shooters in custody, or do we have any outstanding? What about? 2 Metro 30. 2 Metro 30. Yes, I said. 134 will be out from the Taco Bell. We'll be sweeping it eastbound towards the Circle K. This is dispatch. We have 2 officers at ASC. Any other calls? Anybody want to bring? Hey, you still on call? This is dispatch. We have 3 officers at AUC. Yeah, well. Adam 48252 headquarters. Adam 48251. Only good Brady. 10-4 switch over. Intact is cleared up for Montana. Still on back? That's still by. 10-4. Unit coming up just now. Can you make it to the east side over there by the Circle K?
MD John, thank you very much for joining us. Like I said, if you missed it, we are listening to Broadcastify right now to an active shooter situation that's going on in El Paso, Texas at a mall. I'm trying to find the mall name so I can tell you guys the name again.
They didn't want any more LEOs, but we still have a bunch of China coming to the scene. I don't know if you can provide.
Cielo Visto Mall is the mall.
Guys are ready. We're going to start moving people out. And then we'll set up the cars and we're moving out. We'll interview them. Okay, 32. Careful, I got 5 right now. We can get started. 132, that's description. Can I? So we're holding on to multiple over here by the food court. X-ray 2. It's right too. Sorry? Can I use a turn on? Kenny. Kenny, another. You want to command those people coming out of the stores? Or do you need it? No. Hey, sir, for Duncan, you set up a perimeter around the strip mall here? 955 coming up. 955, can you close up the west side part of the parking lot? That way we don't get traffic running through. Can you use this over to Vista?
Right now, they're clearing the mall out of anybody that's in the mall.
207?
And so this is what you're hearing is where they're clearing the mall too.
2 Metro 30. 2 Metro 30. 134. Okay, the business. 97 at Montana and Drama. Where do you need a setup? Command post 20. Command post 20, go ahead. Oh, what's the 20 of the command post? 710, Village West, first floor. Secured, link set up, moving to second. 933, okay. That's where I'm around room with that. Gotcha. For also unit, just to advise, I believe there's still going to be one outstanding. I'm trying to get that 85 from Hill. First, barbecue room. That's okay, you can eat. There's best copy. Switch to command post. Go ahead. I'm going to 26. 254 of them? 10-4. We need to get with the PTS comp because they're going to be evacuating people in the second floor. If you guys can let them know not to release anybody yet.
This is the mall that is being evacuated at the current time, and they're still going through the mall store to store, searching for the shooter or shooters.
If you can give me a link in it over here, that way we can verify. Yeah, give 3, no feedback at this time. Support. Negative.
No, this is actually active right now. Who said what? This is El Paso, Texas, the mall that you see on the screen, Cielo Vista.
And that's simple. All I see here is that they're saying, just stand by, just stand by. Switch to command post. I'm still waiting for other 85 on here. 21. Go ahead. Any of those safety checks? 30,000, correction there, 5, channel Troy 145, switch order, EPS Ranger 1, the other runner. 1801. Also to make it 70214, checking Guarditas, gonna fail. 888,000, 5, can you repeat? 1801. 24 runner?
Don't forget, guys, we are keeping an eye also on the weather. So if you hear any of my mods all of a sudden drop a city name in around the Mississippi River from Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, or Texas, if you're from those areas, pay attention to that because you could be under severe weather. And we do encourage you when that happens to tune into Ryan Hall so you can get the latest on the updates.
Can I get a one? And then be advised, the partition, the main doors, the building are closed.
Sorry about that music there for a moment, folks.
Copy that. Thank you. Portion of the just a last one. Can you leave me out here at in that television? Yeah, go on. 30315. Yeah, 315. Like I said, there is a you're gonna get it out the work. Go ahead. Number 3508. He's not understand. He's advising you there's air support over Granito 00. 260. Hey, sir, 2 more children remain. They're sheltering in place lights off. 1805. Six and 9 poles, and then what do we need? If I get the number, did you want the phone number? Yeah, if you have the phone number to the supervisors, I could make contact and make arrangements, please. Go ahead, ask each of them. Conclusion? Are you ready for that number, sir? We're good. Thank you. 212 3333. Building added, the 62 Street, which is being and giving north of 51 as justification. Go ahead, you can back. Thank you. Thank you.
Again, we're listening to Broadcastify right now with an active shooter ongoing right now in the Cielo Vista Mall in El Paso, Texas.
Just advise, RPS is also not working. I told to lock up. They said there was nobody in here and they didn't see anybody. And then do you show a case number assigned to 841 give us? You too, go ahead. Temple, can you put out the vehicle description again?
Hello, Cherokee Girl. Thank you for joining us.
Temple, check. Temple, and the status at Carlitos Querétaro? Two Frank 192 headquarters. Thank you, go ahead. Can you advise the time the call came in as well? Temple, call came in at 17:05. Right now I have no information on that station subject. Temple. Temple. Dealers top and bottom. It's gonna be clear. Gang 50 headquarters. Victory 1. Don't take your phone number. Hold the area. Gang 50.
For those that are just joining us or don't know, we're listening to Broadcastify right now. There's an active shooter going on in the Cielo Vista Mall in El Paso, Texas.
C1 Do you know if we have any units 97 over there? 47916 at Del Sol. And the unit? 1. I think I'm that one. Anybody there at UMC? have Central break somebody and get there.
I don't have any supervisors' numbers, but I do have the after hours.
For 5 will be about TMC.
Thank you.
I think we're on it. Just don't take out the radio traffic.
You're pretty 185.
Thank you. 185, go ahead. Let me check someone. So they can file on only one caller, right? 5710, 4 shelter in place. Vaquero, Talios.
That worked. One call. So they can wait. Let me see if I think he's going from Vista to UMC to assist with the other victim.
Cherokee Girl, aren't we all? Not only that, but Buffalo, New York, which we'll talk about in a moment.
We have 2 other units that also.
Just advise, we have 3 sheltering in place. One for the GC thing. So far, it's only us right now. Otherwise, one for the other unit gets in.
So they can for say 24.
Just about there's a physical deputy 97 at UMC already. There's an officer on 97 in this unit.
No, that's fine. Anything on it.
You're doing 50 to 6. 6 guys. If anybody's in there trying to find video footage, I wanted to direct them that way to see if there's anything there.
Copy 4 Metro 30.
Response to the subject with the gun and Montana. Pencil, I'm working with Santa Maria on that. Can we let GPS because they're moving people out? Yeah, I believe that was relayed earlier by Partner Ortega. Footage, checking clear. Footage, the source checking clear. Carrying a long rifle. Black hoodie, Hispanic, 2 white male.
3 shooters.
Good. Hey, sir, can you make your way to the crime scene? Check this out. Hey, can you see? I'm at the commandos right now.
I'm going to pause the Broadcastify feed for just a moment. They said this very quickly, that there are 3 shooters, 2 Hispanic, 1 white male, carrying long rifles.
FYI, daycare empty now, secured.
10-4. Daycare empty and secured at 1811.
Yeah, I think they're making a pilot at the south entrance with multiple civilians. Guys, ready for just advise DPF on what regarding the secondary search. Surveillance, second floor.
Can we get 771?
I'm restarting Broadcastify to make sure I'm not lagging here, folks. Just bear with me one moment because they gave a time that just didn't make sense to what I'm seeing. They said it was 30 minutes ago.
Can you release all maglocks to the portables? All maglocks, release them.
I know they advised that they're releasing some of the civilians that were in the mall. They're advised by the JCPenney towards the gateway. I have some people coming our way towards Hawkins by the Panda. How can we verify if they were already been released by the people inside the mall? You want them open? Or he advised that they were escorted and he doesn't have a vehicle, so he just started walking.
I don't always ask for people to keep for thoughts and prayers, but this is
They were cured.
between the Buffalo, New York,
Or the doors to building B, ASC
having a sentence passed on that situation with the shooter at the Tops grocery store, Michigan State University just the other day, and this today. I do ask for everybody keep the families and the victims and their thoughts and prayers.
Ocean 2474, the command post.
Temple. Theaters by Santa Monica, Temple.
Good, unit, go ahead. So I had the cinema going lockdown as well. Can you advise if I can have them release those people yet, or you want them to stay inside? I just stand by for now. We're trying to verify the subjects that were at the store. We're just stand by for now. One for 175 anything. 351.
351.
Go ahead and resume traffic for now. We're going to rally up at the Circle K parking lot.
Go ahead and remove traffic. Authority 251.
Want to command post here around FBI, the license BP to the people out, so we can clarify that with them. Crisis 817. The witnesses, they last advised at the Olive Garden 10-4. Trying to fix your way, you need to send Metro buses. Crisis 714 to that unit. We're having the Sun Metro buses come over to the area between Dillard's and the food court. We're gonna set them up over here. 10-4. I'm gonna send them through the Sunma and back on. 10-4. Yeah. We'll guide them from here. Traffic 68. Good. Housing 51 is traffic result. Traffic 8. Crisis 817 at command.
Sierra is resumed.
Check that license services, checking okay, quiet. Okay. We're gonna switch back over to the valley.
Over. 18.
GPS has 4 witnesses from the Sears. They're taking them to the Olive Garden. 10-4? 10-4. If they have witnesses, they need to be sent to the command post.
Right here, this is where they're talking about right now, the Olive Garden.
955.
Yeah, it's just Nugget.
135.
Yeah, I'm gonna call on the tenor. 27163. So I can follow up?
951.
Yeah, 651 to the command post.
Exam 163.
Yeah, 651 to command post. If we haven't received any more calls reference this subject, I'm going to keep one full crew in the area for a little while. All the other units are going to be going 10-8 shortly. We're UTL so far, and we're inviting businesses out here that they can reopen.
This is a directory of the map and the area around the map right here. I do have that Olive Garden where they were talking about.
Motion activated and time activated, nothing else. Check it okay so far. No movers.
Highlighted for you.
That traffic.
That's going to be 10-4 at 1816.
That was a 2. She was Sergeant Ortega. He's on the phone, stand by. Metro 134.
Metro 134.
No, we'll be assisted on Colorado. We'll be en route to Cielo Vista.
Temporary advisor going to be en route to Cielo Vista.
Temporary. Chicken 51.
Honeybee, thank you for joining us. We're starting my live tonight early. We are currently watching and listening to
From my understanding, sir,
Broadcastify from El Paso, Texas. They are at Sierra Vista Mall in El Paso. There's an active shooter.
are actually in the hospital.
An active shooter going on right now.
I heard that they were chasing somebody earlier in like a black truck or something. They were good on that. No, 31 to come out, bro.
I believe that's 10-4. From what I've heard, like about 2 minutes ago, the shooters are at UFC or Delphi.
10-4, just keep me posted and let me know if they updates if they have anybody outstanding.
10-4, sir. 832.
The units on scene. They started evac. However, before you start with them, ask them if they're a witness to the incident. If they all hold on to them, if not, you go ahead and relieve patrol. Control release. Yeah. Are you ready to copy for an update from Fusion Center?
Go ahead.
Lieutenant Cruiser, just the right where you had that set up and gang with checking everybody's coming out of the mall.
I don't have any PIDs.
Why the Michael Swoop? Is there witnesses or not? The update, Bridges High School is being used for the families. Olive Garden, the one on Cholo Vista is being used for witnesses. Boy, we already filtering through all the personnel to see what witnesses or not. So by 3, are we also going to be releasing from all other businesses where some people or employees are hunkering down? Also be advised the shelter in place is still in effect.
Copy, 1819.
Can one to supervisor with CEP, stand by on that? Stand by on that. We're getting that detective assigned. We're going to have one corridor for all of them to flow out. Stand by. Hold in place. The license CEP wants to do the check-in of the subject. 948 to main post. Can you advise where the media staging point is? Also, I'm 97 at Mall and Bike Town. Can I do it to any CEP supervisor?
Media was sent to the Walgreens parking lot on the other side of the street, not on the mall side.
Go ahead for CEP supervisor.
1735. 1735.
So can I do it to the CEP supervisor? Are you wanting us to stand by before we release any personnel inside the mall?
Go ahead.
10-4, stand by. We're going to have one exit at this point. It's going to be the food court, top, between Sears and Dillard. It's going to be next to the Johnny Rockets. That's going to be our main corridor. Stand by for now. We're getting detective assigned.
Copy about 32 district. When are you went to headquarters? 700 South Denton, 700 South Denton. Traffic hazard can be in reference to a blue minivan that's
714 to the unit that let the Sun Metros in.
blocking the left lane. Only one call. This is advice where media's gonna be at. I have a media at Hawkins entrance.
For any of us that are not familiar with El Paso, this is the locations they're talking about. This is the mall right here.
Also reference Reynolds and
Let me just make sure I'm sharing that. I apologize if I'm not yet. This is the mall right here. Over here is the Walgreens where they're housing the media. And up here is the high school they're talking about for where families are being held right now for the people in the mall.
902, 1097. Crisis 714 to the unit that left the Sun Metros in the perimeter.
1821. Yeah. 935. That's going to be a temporary. Thank you.
Go ahead. Traffic and Texas on standing by at Bicon and Sun Number. So far, no buses have come through yet. Okay, therefore, I was just checking. Can you advise when they're night? 404, go ahead. Therefore, I'll let you know. Title 48 to the command post. Can you advise where the media staging area is?
This started, I believe, just after 6 o'clock East Coast time.
Copy. So, therefore, we have some media over here on the south side by the command post. I'll send them that way.
Going to see building at 68 District Railroad and Vera reference traffic hazard. Go ahead at each way.
If you can send them this way, 1300 Hopkins at the public library. We'll send out a notification again. That's it. Therefore. To command post, I've got a majority of the FBI guys asking where you guys need them for if they're good to go. 27163.
27163.
It's gonna be checking up.
Cherokee Girl, look, I know you're not exactly a local, but you're more familiar with your 10 codes in Texas. What is it? What is a 1097?
Full crew is going to be standing by in the area, checking the area. I'm going to be assisted 10-8. Cap 1-4.
1-4.
10-8, available if needed.
1823.
CAT 72.
CAT 72.
When Temporary was dropped off, left in the care facility staff reference.
10-8, I believe, is they're returning to their normal routes or routes, the patrol routes.
10-7.
125, 497.
Airport 1825. 1823. 203. Gentlemen, I'll be using 1015 husband. I'll be around to 3650 George Student reference has injury. 1824.
What's the phone number for command post? Bravo 60197.
That's it, 1024.
Battle Force 8 to CP. Battle Force to command post.
There has been rumors. I can't confirm that because going around that they're early on, but nobody's confirmed yet that I have seen that there was one deceased, since Carrie's saying in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just Mayor 42. ID number for Delta 101 is 265.
1826. December 55. December 55. Yes, it's the 10.
Battle Force 8 to command post. Building concern by.
Where's that unit still at 6065?
El Paso Times, which is a newspaper, is reporting 1 killed, 3 hurt.
An officer dropped her off over here at the intersection. We're going to have her transported back to
I'm getting a call from the Good Coffee. It's a suspicious subject. They're advising I know walk through that at a table. Is back to the door. Keeps looking back towards the units passing by. It's going to be wearing a gray sweatshirt, dark pants, Hispanic male, about 30 to 35 years of age, 5'6", medium heavy build with a beard.
ALC, if the witness has the FDA person has valid guidance, all witnesses to valid guidance are debriefed.
Kids to respond, 82 District, 7390 Alameda, reference rated, assault in progress, go to 1829, correction 1827.
They could just ask if he's in possession of any. Any unit by Mall Street on the north entrance?
They call back somewhere.
Okay, go ahead.
955 coming up to the Good Coffee. 55 17935 to check 55.
Just to realize there's people jumping over from those apartment complexes onto the service site. I did you job. Sorry, therefore, we'll send them back right now. Thank you. So we consider that unit with the witness on Mall? 4 Metro 30.
Order 20 violent unit at 10:30.
So I have the buses you requested at 10 by count. I copied you need them at Village West 10-4.
Last entry unit?
4 Metro 30. Because I'm not sure if Lincoln units are going to be on the Hill channel.
4 Metro 30.
10-4, please. Have buses parked right at the dealers. I'm going to have officers standing by.
4.
The last call is really for Montana drama. You got 2 coming down Sun Village West. Is there an established exit?
That's going to be unknown at this time. I spoke to the RP, advised he didn't have anything in his possession.
Sergeant, right here, I'm going to intercept them and I'll show them where we need them.
Okay, do you need an exit point from where?
Step 4, the description you provided doesn't match at all with the Part B stated. From the mall, I don't know if they have an established exit point.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like they've got it under control now.
Right at the entrance to just one last unit. Have them start parking behind that unit. Officers that are at the door, can you also assist with some extra weapons, please?
City members, United States District, Element 652, or just reference weapon check, go ahead at 1828.
I'm also about to go.
Seems like they have the situation under control now, and they're starting to just evacuate everybody from the mall and do searches just to make sure they did not miss a person that was a witness or part of the active shooter, as far as an actual shooter of it. Bear with me a moment here. I'm just adjusting my volume levels again to turn everything back down so don't sound like I'm screaming. Okay. If it's on the news, I don't doubt it. I was just saying that the first thing I found was the one from the El Paso News website. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, thank you very, very much for coming out tonight and your patience with me. I thought that was important to be hearing on tonight, considering the recent events and the news that happened today. If you had missed it, the shooter, the mass shooter that went into a shot and killed people in Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York, was sentenced to 10 consecutive life sentences today. By everything he did and the actions that the way he went about it, and the fact that he went and researched this and planned this out in the manner that he did. If it was any other news or any other state, I can't say any other because there are several that don't have the death penalty any longer. But I'm not in favor of the death penalty. I will tell you that straight out. But if this was a different state, he would have gotten the death penalty. But because this happened in New York, he only received life sentences. I think that justice was served justly on this, according to New York law. But I also feel that I would not complain, or I would not hold it against the victims or victim families if they felt that justice was not served because he didn't get death. It's still a possibility if the federal government decides to pursue charges on him. It still is a possibility that they will pursue life death penalty on a federal level. With that, I also want to say, you also had the shooting at Michigan State University just a couple days ago, where tragically 3 died and 5 injured. These are college students, barely adult people that are barely adults. And a 43-year-old male decided he was going to have an agenda of shooting people on Michigan State University campus and then going to New Jersey and shooting up 2 schools in New Jersey. Thankfully, he did not get out of Michigan because this guy was targeting high schools next. In a big city, very densely populated area of New Jersey, called it's Ewing Township, which is in northern New Jersey. But that is where the reports are that the Michigan State University shooter was going to go to next. Yes. Yeah. I've heard about that one. Cherokee Girl, I've heard about that. There's crimes like this do not get played around with. They in Texas, they actually very swiftly will be moving on this once they find and have the people under arrest. Once they have the shooters under arrest. That's, believe there's another one, and it's just eluding me off the top of my head very recently. Within the past 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, there was another active shooter situation going on. Our country has a problem. And this is commentary, folks. So please take this as my opinion, not what anybody else would be. This is not political statement. This is just my opinion. Our country has a problem, but it's not the problem most people perceive it to be. Second Amendment rights are there for a reason. And if you look at the Constitution, why the Second Amendment rights are there, it's so the government fears the people and will not take absolute power. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's a statement that I grew up on, and we were taught in high school when we were studying government. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's important to not, even though in this situations like this, it is important not to run to the statement of we have to have better gun control. We have to have better this, better that. When the truth is that we need to have better common sense. Practice better common sense. Just because the law allows for a person to carry a gun into certain places, mostly in the South, there are, a lot of states are open carry, doesn't mean it's necessary for you to carry a gun, carry a weapon. Again, folks, this is not political statement. This is just my opinion, commentary on everything that you have seen in the news lately. If more states, as Miss Cherokee Girl there was saying just a moment ago, many Texans asked for strong pew-pew laws after Uvalde. It didn't happen. They actually became looser. If more guns, more weapons of self-defense were more readily available to persons that were going to act in a responsible manner and know how to use them properly, situations like that would not happen because the person that was doing the active shooter, as you heard tonight, would never know where that one shot was going to come from that was going to stop them. Same thing as what the Second Amendment describes as being a well-formed militia. It's the same thing as an individual in a situation like this. If you had to look over your shoulder and go, am I going to be the one that's going to land up being laid out? Then it wouldn't happen. People, please start practicing common sense. It's not even having common sense anymore. It's practicing it. And if you don't know what common sense is, ask somebody. Seriously. if you have mental health issues, and I'm not going to sit here and argue this person, that person, the other person have mental health issues. I frankly don't care. I know I have issues with depression and anxiety. But here's the thing. When push comes to shove, it's smarter to ask and seek help if you have mental health issues than to go on a shooting spree because you're homicidal. Or even if you're the S word, suicidal. The big S word that YouTube doesn't like, I'm saying it. Better to seek help in those situations. But practice common sense. Hello, True Crime and Other Stuff. I thank you for coming out tonight. You have not missed much if you're just joining now. We were listening to the active shooter situation in El Paso, Texas. That you probably caught all over the news. Right. In Cherokee Grove, that's the thing, is if you have the weapon in a responsible person's hand, I'm going to put it this way. This is Tennessee law. Okay. It's open carry. You can walk into a business unless the business has a particular sign on the window or on the door saying you're not allowed to bring a weapon into that, a certain type of weapon into the business. Legally, they cannot stop you. The only exception to that law is if you're going to go to a bar and drink, then by law, you are not allowed to carry. But that's common sense. If you're going to a bar to drink and you're drinking alcohol, you're putting yourself into a state of you're not having that clear head, that clear thought. So why would you want to have a weapon on that person? I'm not intending to get on a soapbox. I'm just saying, please watch out, because what you're going to hear next out of the news is what can we do better for gun laws, weapon laws? What can we do better to protect people by passing more stricter laws? That's not the answer. My intended conversation tonight was going to be Summer Wells. And as you can tell, we didn't start off that way, but we're going to get to that now. And of course, if you're a reminder, just if you're joining us, if my mods, when they're in here, as they're in here, if they all of a sudden drop a city name, please, if you're living near that, if you live near that city, I encourage you at the top of the chat. There is a link for Ryan Hall, y'all. And everybody from South can make fun of how I'm saying y'all. Being a Yankee, I am not going to be offended. He is a really good weather guy that does a YouTube weather. And when there's a outbreak of weather or major weather stories going on, he is live. So if we're seeing my mods are keep an eye on Ryan Hall with me. So if we suddenly see that alerts or they're talking about tornadoes or anything like that, and if they throw out a city name, please click on that link at the top of the chat, because I encourage you to tune into him to make sure you're safe. And that's the type of situation where I would rather you go and catch me on a replay. I will not be offended. I will still carry on my show, and I hope that I would rather you know that you're safe and watching versus not know what's going on with the weather and put yourself in a dangerous position and watch me. Okay. It's just not, I'm not, no offense to you. But I just want to make sure you're safe because you're paying attention to me when the weather could be going south and sour in your area. So, on to Summer Wells. Previously, in my last live, we started talking about the time leading up to June 14th, and I have got to make an apology about this. I did not catch it till after my live when I had put in the date that I wanted the historical weather to look at. I picked the date for June 14th, 2021. But when I went to live, that particular website, I don't know why, don't know when, don't know how it happened, but I will not be using that website again. All of a sudden, switched to the year to be in 2020. And I didn't catch it. It's still not a bad representation of what the weather is like in the Tri-Cities area at that time of year. However, it was not accurate for what actually the weather was in 2020. The weather in 2020, as soon as I can find a good historical map again of it, or map showing of it, was hotter than what it showed for 2020 by about 15 degrees. Maybe 20 degrees. I don't remember off the top of my head. So yes, it was swimming. The water was not going to be warm still at that time of year, as we had discussed before. Let's see if this website does any better. So the weather was not going to be. It was warm. It was on the hot side. I'll admit that, but the water temperature was still not going to be hot enough to say, let's go jump in the lake or jump in the river. I don't imagine that only a couple days of being in the upper 80s for highs and 90s, which is unseasonably hot compared to what the average is. And it would not have been. Here we go. June 15th, 2021. I'm showing you this now just so you guys can have an accurate idea of what the weather was. This is coming from, I believe it's Weather Underground. At the peak of the heat of the day on June 15th, and this was early that this heat happened this day, before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it had hit 81 degrees. And you can see that I do have 2021 this time. It had hit 81 degrees. It did not stay 81 degrees very long. By the time 3 o'clock came around, it was still 80, but dropping off pretty quickly. If all the timestamps that work out, the timing of everything works out, they would have been in the at the grocery store in the early afternoon, where the temperature was still climbing 80 to 81 degrees for the day. Swimming when it was in the upper 70s. Still not the most ideal situation, but not a bad situation either. So again, I do apologize sincerely that I had the wrong information before. But there is the right information for June 15th about the weather. Ironically, the year before was only a few degrees off. The average for the weather in this area for the beginning half of June is still only highs in the lower 70s, mid 70s at the most. But again, I would not call this for June ideal swimming weather. Not for the river, not for the horse pond, not for that area that they were in. So let's get focused on June 15th. Where I left you off on was June 14th, where Don Wells had gone to bed and Summer Wells was tucked up underneath him. In some manner or fashion, her leg was under Don Wells. And we know this because, as Don Wells tells us, on June 15th, when he woke up, he had to carefully maneuver her. So when he got up, he would not have broken or hurt her leg. It says Don Wells tells it. And then he had to go and get ready for work and go off to work. And according to him, again, everybody was still asleep when he left for work. Did he go to work? And how long did he go to work is the question. Because let's remember that he is supposedly, or he had fired his employee or the person that was working with him on the job site the previous day, on the 14th. And in around that time as well, there was rumors of a blue vehicle, a blue truck that was staying on the property. That never gets mentioned before the 14th or anywhere related to the property on the 14th or the 15th. It magically shows up, according to Don, that he had to chase that vehicle away. And the time placement of this is quite vague. We never truly got an accurate date on this. My belief is that this was happening sometime when he came back from Utah. That for some reason he's throwing into the June area when that was in October, November. There was no proof. Nobody ever. The only other story or about a blue vehicle came from Candace when she was talking to Chris McDonough. The Amber Alert lists a red Toyota Tundra. But Candace says, I never remembered a red vehicle. I remember a blue vehicle, but not a red one. So what appears to be a normal day already has chaos and confusion as the story we've been told starting off. We have two vehicles that nobody can give a correct description on. As time passed, we get another story about a red vehicle, and we're going to get into that in a moment. Don supposedly goes off to work, which is supposed to be in Jonesboro, where he's doing his mudding job. And Candace keeps Summer with her, leaves the boys at home, and goes running into town with her and her mother. Her mom has an appointment for a orthopedic. And at that time, let's remember these rules and everything that was going on with healthcare was all surrounded by the pandemic. So the rules of what would normally be happening are not typical. The rules is along the lines of this, and I don't remember what they exactly were. I do work in healthcare or healthcare related field, but my job is not influenced by the rules and the laws that had the hospitals and local doctors' offices had to oblige by. So I don't know them clearly. I'm just going to summarize what they were. That a lot of the activities for a doctor's office visit or even a clinic visit, they weren't happening at the clinics or the hospitals for a walk-in situation. Most of the activity was happening through the hospital where they could do rapid testing. We all know what I'm referring to. I'm not going to say it. Rapid testing and find out if the person was come back as being positive for a certain illness. If they were, they could then take necessary measures for the patient and they protect everybody else involved. So that's where Candace, and Summer were headed towards at the start of the day. From our best recollection and everything that we can place together from what is being told, they would have been at the hospital for the clinic approximately 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning. It takes a good 20 minutes without traffic from where they lived to where the hospital was. Every single trip they made that day, if you watched the live I had done previously, every single trip that they made through the course of that day was a 15 to 20 minute trip from location to location. Whether it be to the hospital, I think that's the only outlier because it takes a little bit longer. But where they went from the hospital to H's house, then on to the park, as they supposedly said, and in between, in there, they also went to the tobacco shop or hippie shop. And then also going over to Sonic and Walgreens. The path that they took was I kept everything about a 15-minute drive from each other. But there's one place they never ever mentioned that day, and I did a whole live on this. So I'm not going to go into the full details of this. Where they went, thank you, Carrie. It was Catch 22 in the hippie house. Thank you very much. But still, every single place they went was about a 15-minute trip. And it was in downtown Kingsport area. Excuse me, just off of downtown Kingsport area. There's one place, and I'm going to mention this way. I did a whole entire live on the importance of the church in this story. An almost central point to them going into town, going to these locations, and then going back out to her home. They would have passed the church that they have been going to at least 3 times. That to me is significant. I'm not saying that it was something happened at the church. I'm not saying that something, I believe though that the church or a person from the church other than the Wells family was involved. And the reason that it serves or so prominent could be that they were supposed to meet with somebody, catch up with somebody in that area. I don't know for sure. But it would be ironic to have to plan out your routing, your trips, so you kept going past the church. Or making excuses to go to these places, so you kept passing the church. Again, I don't think the church was involved at the with Summer Wells' disappearance, but if somebody from the church was, and I don't mean the Wells alone. I think that the what stands out to me the most. Carrie and I both went to the park, went to the area where they went swimming. Who said what? Thank you very much for coming back. I appreciate that. I think that one of the most significant and important things that happened and was going on that day was that I believe that H, no matter what that you hear, and no matter how many times they try to downgrade or degrade or demean or any other word you might want to rephrase it as, what H said was the single closest. I'm not saying he's 100% accurate. I'm saying that he's the single closest to being correct of what happened that day. And I believe that poor boy still blames himself today about what happened. I believe that the events of the day happen for a purpose. And it starts with going out and getting H that day. Believe that he was used for proof of life that day. That everything was hunky-dory, everything was fine. She was swimming, she was happy, and when they left her, she was asleep and alive. What I don't believe is that once they returned home, that Summer ever got out of the vehicle. I'm not saying she didn't return to the property. I'm saying she never got out of that vehicle. I coined the phrase, and I know it's a bit of a phrase that people actually hate that I coined. That I say this. Well, I didn't coin it. Rather, it's been a phrase that has been around forever. I apologize. I use the phrase "a happy accident." I believe that the fate of Summer Wells, the demise of Summer Wells, was accidental. But if you compare her demise to some of the stories that were going around that day and have been since going around, that she was sold, that she was trafficked, that she was kidnapped, that was that her demise was rather gruesome and right in front of her parents. This happy accident was a saving moment for what the parents had actually planned. I have no proof of what they planned. I don't know any information. It's purely a gut instinct or an intuition going by with what I've heard and what I believe that the Wells were capable of. I think they had something very nefarious planned involving Summer for June 15th. I do believe Don Wells was in a major debt and it involved illegal substances, being, as I like to say, his property was a trading post. His property was a horse farm. From the get-go of June 15th, within 2 weeks, being a local, I heard things that I couldn't exactly substantiate about what was going on in the Wells. So I came up with phrases that I pulled out of thin air. And Miss Cosplay's laughing. I know she's laughing. I don't have to see her laughing. I know she's trying to not admit to laughing, but I know she's laughing in the background. Cosplay, you can admit to laughing. I had to come up with phrases to tell people what I had heard without me telling them what I heard. And I was putting it out on YouTube. If you were listening to Nita's live last night, she had a Nita's World live last night. She had a YouTube stream or something on where he was going over Appalachian language, the dialect, the vernacular, and what the Appalachian people meant. Excuse me. I have to admit that I laughed a little bit when I heard that they were talking about a trading post. Because even then, I didn't realize how accurate I was on using it to describe with the Wells property. Back in the day of the Appalachian, it was your corner store, your local market. It's where you went to and you either traded for goods You traded services. You bought and bartered for things that you may need. And it's exactly what happened, and exactly what I was mentioning, meant to call or meant to identify the Wells property as. Because, and it's, I'm going to tell you straight out right now, and I'll tell you this in a moment, where I get this from. That's exactly what Don Wells was doing for a side hustle. He was allowing people that would not normally you would want in your neighborhood, because they're always peddling something, whether it be an illegal substance, stolen goods, or other items you couldn't just sell in an open, normal store, convenience store, grocery store, or anything like that. And I can tell you, I am convinced, again, I don't know where it went to, but I know Carrie will in just a moment. It flashes up in the chat room. But this is my opinion. This is based on just my observation. It is not, I don't have 100% proof of this. And because of that, I do say that when I talk about, when we're talking about this, because of YouTube's new rules and regulations, that unfortunately we have to say that this is for education and entertainment purposes only. After Don Wells got released from jail, if you didn't pay attention closely, one of his trips out of state that he has made was to go to Miami, Florida. Now I ask you, I'm going to ask you to type it in the chat. What would a person from Northeast Tennessee go all the way down to Miami, Florida for just after they got released from prison? Type your opinions on that in the chat, folks. I'll give you guys a moment. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good guess. But he can go to Knoxville and get that. You're on the right track. Who said what? You are on the right track. I'm of belief and understanding from what I've heard around town that even though I don't go out a lot because I don't like to go out a lot, that when he went to Miami, there you go. Who said what? You just hit the proverbial nail on it with a hammer right on the head. He went to Miami to try to convince his connections his property is safe to use again. He went to Arkansas under the guise that he had a job. He probably did have a job out there for a little bit of time, probably with family. But again, it's to contact his connections and to convince them that his property is safe to use once again. Who said, "What? You're fine. Don't worry about it." Think about that. Does that not make 100 complete sense? He's out there trying to reconnect his connections to say that his property is able to be used once again. And what does Sheriffy know to be involved in? Should make everybody's hair on their head, back of their necks and arms and everywhere else they may have hair at the top of their head and bottom of their feet, stand up and going screaming, "That's not right." That smells worse than raw sewage. Yes, part of his house, part of his property is used as a trap house. With all the pretty coloring, all the pretty picturing, or all being nice about it stuff, strip all that away, and this is what you got. It's a trap house. Don B today did one of his short little blurbs where he records a message, records information while he's driving. And I'm not trying to undercut him or anything like that. I'm glad somebody else is doing the work that we already had talked about, and providing more information to it. From not long after the boys got taken away from the wells, and including just a couple months before I had to take my hiatus, we had said that CPS in Tennessee is very, very easy to get your children back from, as long as you continue to make progress on what they say has to be corrected, which we all can see that the Wells did not do. Whether it be from Don Wells going to jail, or Candace deciding she's going to go and gallivant around Tennessee, and also go into Virginia and Kentucky and stay with people all over the place and not work on her house. And yes, this all relates to everything I'm saying relates back to Summer Wells and what happened June 15th, 2021. Don Wells was allowing some bad dudes, as you guys are talking about in the chat. He allowed some bad dudes to be up on that property. The reason I'm mentioning about CPS is, and Don B's live today, is because he contacted somebody that formerly worked for CPS, who said the same exact thing I said. My mods said as well. You have 18 months to 2 years. CPS does not like it to go to 2 years, but if they have to push that date to 2 years, they will. And if it does get pushed to that 2-year mark, you either have to have everything done on that list, or you're going to lose custody of your kids. 18 months, they ideally want to be returning your kids to you. But if you back CPS into the corner of 24 months, 2 years, it's pretty much done. Now, I don't like to focus on and talk about the boys much. They deserve their privacy. But for the boys, we're pretty much at that 18-month mark. And all accounts of what happened on June 14th, CPS came to the Wells property, supposedly to close an 18-month investigation that had already been ongoing. And they played their game of, oh, we're not here. You can't do anything because we're not here. We never met. And then on the 15th, they went out again for the day. The horse farm that's right by the swimming hole that they went to, if you're not familiar with where I'm talking about, bear with me just a moment. I will have a map up here. You guys know how I like my maps. The horse farm that is right by where they went swimming says that they saw the vehicle in question that Candace was supposed to be driving to have been in the parking lot almost all day. Now, why would the horse farm say anything else or be able to say anything else about it when they had camera surveillance? But let's not forget TBI, FBI, everybody else would have had access to be able to see that that vehicle was there almost all day long. This should look very familiar to everybody. This is this place that they went swimming on June 15th. The parking lot that the horse farm would have very easily been able to see from their stables. There's the stable. It's not even 3/4 of a football field away, folks. Not 3/4 of a football field away. From here to here. They have a fence line right here. They have a funny little goat that likes to jump through the fence and come visit everybody. And that if you're walking around that area. But this is the area that Summer Wells went swimming on the 15th. Now, if you ask me what I believe had happened, I didn't go over all the details of every single place they went yet. The most dangerous place they would have gone on that day was to the grocery store. The Wells say that they were only there for 15 minutes. I don't have a good knee. I have a bad knee from since I was a teenager. It would take me about 20 minutes to walk the aisles of that store. It's not huge, but it's a grocery store. If grandma had gone to the hospital in pain from the boys kicking her knee and it buckling, and she thought that she re-injured or damaged it, as the reportedly said, she would not have been walking around that store very agile. Probably slower than I did or could have. And Carrie is the first person that can tell you, and it's only because she's a witness that I'm not a very agile person. I don't move very well. So if I could say that I can get around that store in 20 minutes, somebody that has good legs, good back, probably could do it in 10, 15 tops. The Wells did not spend just 20 to 25 minutes in that store. It was more like 45, 50 minutes. This is what I believe had happened. This is what I say is the happy accident. I know it's horrible to phrase it that way, guys, but let's just keep in mind that this saved her from the more nefarious things that the Wells had planned. Or was going to happen on the 15th. It reached 83 degrees that day. $83 degrees that day for a high. We've studied this when just as the same. We've studied the weather on this channel. And I'll be glad to pull it up again. I'll find it and pull it up again. What the car temperature would raise to on an 83-degree day. On an 83-degree day, and this is going in the levels of 5 to 10 degrees. Bear with me just a second here. They break down into a chart, I believe. Okay, so actually, their information. Well, I'm gonna let me see if I can find a different source. My apologies. Here we go. Here's a better source. I want you to catch this, folks. This is gonna when you see this, it's gonna make you question what everybody said about what happened to Summer Wells. This is an inside car temperature calculator from Good Calculators. I have it already set up to show you what would happen on a day that was 83 degrees. Now, it doesn't pinpoint 83 degrees, but I'm going to point it out to you a little bit here. Right here is 85 degrees. In 10 minutes time, the car temperature would be between 99 and 104 degrees. 20 minutes time, 109 to 114 degrees. 30 minutes time, 114 to 119 degrees. 40 minutes time, 118 to 123 degrees. 50 minutes time. Now, remember, I said I know that they were in that grocery store for 45 to 50 minutes. You top out at 121 to 126 degrees. Anybody free feel to answer this question? When a child runs a temperature, what is the temperature that is considered to be lethal and start to cause brain damage for a child that was Summer's age? What is the temperature that is considered to be lethal and start to cause brain damage in a child that's Summer's age in 2021? 5 years old. Mamas, you know this. A temperature above 104 degrees. Within 15 minutes time, 10 minutes time to 15 minutes time, that vehicle would have jumped up to 104 degrees. Carrie's got it. Carrie knew it. I knew Carrie would know it. 104. No water, no airflow, no air condition in the truck. And Summer was wearing a jogging suit, supposedly. The only source of something to drink was a bottle of an orange drink that was on the back seat and some Skittles that were scattered all over the seat. It wasn't until after they realized that she was taking drink from that orange drink bottle, the orange juice or orange liquid, that they hollered at her and said, "Here, drink water instead." Occam's razor says the most simplest explanation must be the truth, must be the reason, must be the however you want to interpret it. The most simplest explanation must be the answer. She got hit a heat illness related. She was sick because of the heat that she was exposed to. I believe that every single thing you hear from people coming off of Ben Hill Road is nothing but gibberish to try to cause chaos and confusion into what happened to Summer Wells. They planned one thing. And as much as I'm not a religious person, and I don't intend to put religion in a negative light here, but God saved that child from what they planned. Oh, imagine it worse than that, though. Who said what? Because she would have been unconscious from the heat exhaustion. She never got out of the truck. When they realized that she was in dire condition, Carrie just said it exactly what I was about to say. In a dire condition, and her body was shutting down. They had opportunity to fix the issue of taking her to the hospital. This is where I believe Don Wells comes into this. And what Don Wells knows and starts to figure out of what happened in the day. I don't believe Don Wells was the party that was responsible for Summer Wells's demise. But I believe he's involved in the cover-up of it. And as time has gone on, Summer Wells' demise has done one thing. Pointed out all the problems of the past or happened in the past. His past. 104 degrees would have taken approximately 15 minutes on an 83-degree day. Because she didn't die. She did not die there. I said she didn't leave the truck. She didn't meet her demise in the truck or on the property. I believe that Don Wells convinced Candace that as soon as that she would be fine, as soon as he heard her, or she heard his voice, she would perk right back up and she would be normal, happy-go-lucky the way she normally is. As he says that she loved him. Exactly. She wasn't completely gone. That's why the cadaver dogs wouldn't have picked up anything from the truck. Decomp would not have started. Her body was shutting down, but decomp would not have started until she stopped breathing. Her heart stopped. I know this is a bit out there for some, and I believe that I still stand on this, that she was hidden in the mountains. And as long as Don Wells and Candace Wells can get away with it, they're never going to tell where. I also believe that she's been moved around a couple places, a couple times. So, are you talking about where the footprints were? The shoe prints or the footprints were? Okay. Give me a little bit more information on that because I'm not sure what you're asking there. Let's keep in mind, though, that a lot of that area out in Beach Creek is considered to be farm property. It's the legal classification of it, or how they determined what the property's tax rate would be on there out that way. A cadaver dog got a hit on a farm. The only time I know of any scent dogs having any sort of hit is when they were searching in and around the property. They were coming off the dog trail, supposedly. They had a hit on her scent. I can't vouch for everything that Jose, if you remember who Jose is, that I cannot count for every single thing he said. But the one thing I will actually say that he was absolutely correct on was that Summer Wells and the boys were pretty much unattended when they were at home. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted, go wherever they wanted, as long as they found their way back home by dark. Couple different times I've heard a story where Summer was they had to go find Summer because she was out running naked up the road. So I don't discount that she could have possibly gotten onto or went onto some of the properties that were behind her house and up at the top of the Ben Hill Road. Because that one property that's up the top, I believe it's like a 110-acre property, is classified as a farm. So is that the? But it's more like a ranch than anything else. Is that the what you're talking about? Stream, don't think I'm ignoring you. I'm just trying to locate something real quick. Okay, bear with me just a second here. Okay, so what I'm going to share here real quick is that as a map again. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, this is 110 Ben Hill Road. This is the lower shed right here. Up here is where the resident, where they actually lived, is over here. Okay, that's 110 Ben Hill Road. This is Beach Creek. Oop. And this is Beach Creek coming in from, this is the direction you would go to Kingsport, is up this way. Where are you talking about? Is it, apologies, you were not seeing this. All right, so again, this is the lower shed right here. This is where they actually lived on top of the hill. And no, this is proportionally not correct. It's not like that, where that half their property is so high up like that. That's not correct. This is the direction you would go into Kingsport, up this way. Right here is actually Ben Hill Road. And this is Morrison's cemetery that's right across the road from where they lived. Here we are at the lower shed. Honeybee, thank you. I share that with John Q. I must admit, I share that with John Q. Him and I are really, really good. That a map is to us is a very telling piece of information. Okay, so you sent me an email and with the name of the farm as the title. Okay, give me a moment. Let me get to my email real quick. Let's see here. I got the email. I'm taking a look right now. Okay. Mountain View Farm is not in Beach Creek area. That's actually Bristol. It's over by Bristol Motor Speedway, which is a good, I'd say a good 30-minute drive, 40-minute drive, depending on what road you take. Stop sharing for just a moment because this is going to fly to that location. Don't want to make anybody have motion sickness. Now, there is, I apologize, I was being quiet there for a moment while I found information here. There is a bed and breakfast off of Paddle Creek. That's called Mountain View Farm, but it's a bed and breakfast. It's not an actual working farm, from my understanding. Is this what you were referring to, though? Just out of curiosity? That's an old country bread and breakfast. It's not a working farm anymore. Bear with me a second here. Let me show the map here. I apologize. There we go. That's the property I'm thinking you're speaking of. Mountain View Farm. It's off of Paddle Creek. You said that sounds like it. Yeah, it's Bristol. It's not near the. It's not near Beach Creek. Here's Bristol Motor Speedway right up here. Bristol is right here, just off to its north. This map's sideways. I apologize. Just off to the north from the Mountain View Farm is Bristol, and just off to the west is Bristol Motor Speedway. No. Who said what? I'm willing to. It's not a problem because it's one of those deals where if you know something and I did not know this, I want to know it. Um. Yes, these are the things that happened from June 15th and for the next 2 weeks. I agree. Where there was a helicopter search, they were also doing foot searches. Yeah, I agree. With the roadblocks and everything, yes. Hang on just a minute. I may have an idea what you're talking about. Bear with me just a moment here. Okay, so here we are again, taking a look at Ben Hill Road, 110 Ben Hill Road, Beach Creek area, Beach Creek Road. Are you talking about this? This right here is the lower shed. This is where the residence was or is. Are you talking about these areas in here? Okay, so a very long story short. That was a piece of property that was sold not too long ago before I think it was within maybe a year, probably more like 6 months of Summer Wells disappearing. You don't mess with that property. It's not that anything evil, corrupt, or horrible is going on. They're way above par. A lot of very old inherited money is what was able to be able to buy that property. That family is very well off, to the point where the reason I'm saying you don't mess with that property or those properties is that if you do go around them and bother them and alienate them and end up causing them problems, it's going to land up causing you more legal issues, because they have the attorneys to drag this out a very, very long time and cost you way more than it would ever be worth. This is I'm not going to tell you who lives there. I'm not even going to suggest to Google the name. You know that one check that back when they were doing the Summer Wells fund through Civis Bank? That check that was written that nobody knows that was being held. That came from that property. Yeah, they're above par. If you need something to get done in that area, and they need financial backing or they need financial assistance of any kind, that's how they go knock at the door and sit down and have dinner and have a very nice long meeting, and a charity or a community service or community program walks away and has a check cut for them. Okay. So yeah, it's really they're very well off. Hello, Charlie K. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Back to your question. There was a scent hit there. How would it apply to the scenario of her in the truck? A scent doesn't just wash away. Like when you go to the sink and wash mud off of your hand or dirt off your hand. The oils and from your pores and your skin cells that may rub off, because Summer is known to not wear shoes, would last longer than you would think. even though her parents said that she didn't leave the property and she didn't do this, and they don't know diddly. Just be frank, they don't know diddly about what their kids did. Their kids would run up and down Beach Creek Road. They'd run up and down Ben Hill Road. They'd run all through these woods surrounding their property. All through these woods surrounding this property. So is there a reason that, yeah, sure, absolutely. They could have gone running down the road chasing one of the dogs. But I don't doubt that they would have been running around the area and could have been going on that property. Not in a heartbeat. So I think that's actually what would have happened in there. That with that. Charlie K, I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't had a chance to ask you how you doing and see and hear from you. How you doing, man? The point of everything that I've said about what happened to Summer Wells is, I believe the parents had one thing planned. And I believe that she got a sudden illness. You can speculate all you want if it was the heat or it was, as Hunter had said, good for you, Charlie. Good for you. Proud of you, man. That's the most important part right there. Day by day. We all get there day by day. Going back to what I was saying about Summer Wells. It's an absolute tragedy that the way her parents treated her and treated the boys. And I don't normally speak of the boys. The point of why was CPS coming out on the 14th to close a case? What was that case? What would have happened opened within 18 months prior to them? Remember, I said I believe there is a catalyst that happened on the 14th that put the wheels in motion for Summer disappearance. Was it CPS coming to visit and close a case and them not being able to hide that they had Summer? Or was it that it was something to do with the boys and they were following up with the potential of closing the case? Because boys were at school age at that point. And the school system, if they didn't, something wasn't happening that they should have been happening for the welfare of those boys, would have been obligated to call CPS or involve CPS. It's an extremely sad 20 months. That the only answer we have is more chaos and confusion piled on top of more chaos and confusion. And CPS, I'm not don't blame CPS in the least bit. They have to protect the children. So they're not going to come out and say, "Oh, we had an open case with involving this child and it was over this." No, then they're not going to do that. The Wells are very, very close to losing the rights to the boys. And they keep complaining currently about Candace having a heart condition and that they can't take the stress and they can't take this and they can't take that. The truth of the matter is the pressure needs to be turned up higher on them. They know what happened to Summer Wells. Pug Mom, that is actually a great point that I never considered. You're right. You're absolutely right. That was October. So they opened up a 8-month investigation. Not sure 8-month. So I'm not going to think. I'm not going to change that. Thank you, Pug Mom. They were following up on the investigation on June 14th. No, Pug Mom changed my mind. I think that they were there to exactly what Carrie said. They were not there to close the case. They were there to follow up on the case. In most cases, Pug Mom, you're right. However, Tennessee likes to push that 8 to 18 months quite a bit. So if it's possible that 8 months or even at 6 months that we're trying to close it, if the legal issues were resolved or they're to the point where they didn't think the kids were endangered any longer or potentially endangered. Right, and that all results from the domestic violence that happened in October that I was mentioning. Why Don was on probation. But what Pug Mom is saying, it absolutely makes sense, 100%. Yeah, and Tennessee was being nice to Don back in October when they put him on probation. He was already a felon and had a gun. I believe it was a musket loader. and there was an argument. Police got called out. Recently, it's been going that 911 call has been going out, and the dispatch call has been going out. It's been altered, to say the least. But if you find the original one, it's just a domestic violence. They got into an argument, and while she's on the phone with him, with the police, Candace being on the phone with the police, apparently Don pushed Candace. The police arrived. They found that he had a gun, a weapon that he should not have had. And in being very nice to them, in a way that they did not have to do, they put him on probation instead of putting him in jail then. Right. Neither does the law. The law doesn't care what kind it is. All they say is that he's not allowed to have any. And because he did, that's why he got the probation. I do remember, Pug Mom, that Dudley had said that Don had occasionally stayed at the house. Guys, forgive me for a brief moment. I appreciate your patience with me. I'll be right back. My apologies about that, everybody. Thank you very much for your patience with me. So right, exactly. On the 14th, Dudley did say that Don Wells did not look well at all. He didn't look well at all. Something was eating him up from the inside, as I believe the way it was worded. That something was eating him up on the inside, and it was affecting him. You could see it emotionally. The problem is, though, that it's 20 months later. And even though I didn't go into great detail about what did Summer Wells, what did Candace Wells do that day, I gave you a brief rundown of what happened. They went to take grandma to the doctor, which would have been at the hospital. From there, they went to H's house, picked him up. I believe that's because Summer was being a typical 5-year-old child and was getting antsy and on Candace's nerves of being trapped in a vehicle in a parking lot that was not equipped to have children being able to play in it. Summer admired H, looked up to H. So she took Summer over. Candace took Summer over to H so she would have somebody to play with and waste energy. From there, they decided they were going to go swimming, but they realized they didn't have swimming, or excuse me, they were going to go fishing, but they realized they didn't have fishing equipment, so they went swimming instead. While they were swimming, Summer was swimming, something had gotten Candace's attention off of Summer. She was not paying attention to Summer as close as she should have. In that course of time that they were at that park, Grandma called saying she was being released and they had to go to Walgreens. Prescription was called into Walgreens for them. So they went from the park up to the hospital, then back to essentially the park because that's where the Walgreens is, and waited for the prescription. I don't remember which order it was. They went to Hippie House, Catch 22, and Sonic. Going by my idea of everything was about a 15-minute drive. They would have went from Walgreens to the Hippie House to Sonic, then to Catch 22. You could flip-flop Catch 22 and Hippie House. And this would give everything still approximately 15 minutes. I don't agree with every single creator and with every single thing they say. So when I say somebody and I say I specifically agree with something specific they say, please do not take it beyond. Thank you, Carrie. The Hippie House was first. It's because she wasn't there. She didn't know because she wasn't there. And even if she would have been there, but from being there myself, somebody that would have been just getting out of the hospital and having a brace on their leg, it's not favorable ground to walk. Because they didn't say it was just a brace, they said it was an immobilizer. which would go from groin to ankle. It's very muddy, ruddy, uneven ground. And parts of it are extremely sandy. And that sandy ground is even worse than the mud. If she was there, she didn't get out of the vehicle. I believe that they went swimming while she was in the hospital, waiting for her to be released. I do not believe she was at the place they went swimming. So I'm going to be wrapping up in a few moments here, folks. So I'm going to show you one other place on this map. I apologize. I'm not trying to make anybody dizzy. Here's the original hippie house. And this is what I'm saying. Everything was about a 15-minute drive. I wanted to show you something. That's a Walmart. That's the hippie house, remember, folks. This is their church that they went to. I said they went past that 2 to 3 times in that day. I know I'm kind of backwards. This map is all flipped around here, so forgive me for a second here. This is a mall that like nobody goes to anymore. Right in Johnson City. I'm sorry, not in Johnson City, in Kingsport. Okay, I'm sharing that. Good. Sorry, wanted to make sure I was sharing that. Okay, what I'm looking for, I'm not seeing. That's the Bojangles. That's their church. Forgive me, folks. I apologize. Oh, it's not that far up. I had the right road. However, unless it's down here and I didn't see it. Nope. My apologies, folks. I've gotten out of practice with this map, and I used to know where things were better than I do. I have to get back in practice with it. However, what I was trying to point out was this road right here that I'm showing right now, with their church being on it, the hippie house being on it, at the top end of it, or not far off from the mall that I mentioned up here, and the food city that's up here. It is crucial to everything that they did that day. Everything was on this road. They did not get far off this road. Nope, that's not it. But that is it. That's the Walgreens. Like I said, I'm a little bit out of practice with this map, folks. I apologize, but this is the Walgreens that they went to, because this, I believe over here is a grocery store. Nope, that's not it. I know it's not it. But anyway, I apologize. I take that back. That is not the right location, and I'm not finding the right location tonight. I apologize about that, folks. Please, everybody, I'm getting tired. That's probably why I'm not finding things on the map. So Candace lied when she said she did the interview with CM, because she said that she helped her down to the swimming hole. Yeah, I have a very difficult time believing what Candace said about her mom being at the swimming hole. From personally being there, it's very rutted ground, roots sticking up out of the ground, and it's just not an easy walking area. There's a multiple elevation changes, and you have to step down or step over roots, and go up a hill, down a hill, type of stuff going on. So I don't believe for a second that grandma was there. That is my personal opinion of that. But anyway, folks, I've had a long day today. I wish I had not had such a long day. I would love to keep talking with you more, but I have another long day work tomorrow, and I need to call it a night. I probably will be back on Saturday night. We will pick up again here and go into further detail of what happened on June 15th. But today is the saddest day, that it has taken 20 months. And I'm not blaming LE, CPS, or anything like that. They have got to do their investigation. They've got to complete their investigation. The one thing I would say I believe is going to happen out of all of this is that in the end, it's going to come down to a grand jury submitting charges. I don't believe that we're going to get the truth of what happened outside of a grand jury saying there's enough of a theory there and evidence there to press charges. And when they do so, it's going to be on the parents. It's going to be on the parents that of Summer Wells. I believe that this is where this is headed with all my heart. And Summer deserves better answers. Summer deserves for the community, for all those that have spent countless hours going over the details, for all the different people in the Tri-Cities area, whether or not it's come out to be that they had nefarious intentions, or they're scamming, or this, that, or the other, to be able to put Summer Wells to rest at this point is not for Don or Candace Wells. It's for the community that went out searching for Summer Wells. This is not the Wells' child. This is Kingsport's child, the Tri-Cities child now. And the Tri-Cities deserves to have a final goodbye to Summer. Folks, I always end my show with saying one thing. If you're a parent, do you know where your kids are tonight? It's going on after 11 o'clock my time. If you know where your kids are tonight, give them a hug. Give them an extra hug. Make sure that they know that you love them and you're there for them always. With that being said, I am RJ, and I'm out. Have a good night. Have a good night, everybody.